Okay, hello everybody, I'm Elspeth. So this is my undergraduate dissertation project. Oh my gosh, it helps if you don't choke. So I was mainly working on crocodile teeth from this formation. So previous literature suggests that the species that originate there are Brachychamps montana, Thoracosaurus neocesariensis, and Borealisuchus sternbergi. So they're all different levels of heterodont animals. So if we go across, we've got this one is Thoracosaurus, Borealisuchus, Thoracosaurus again, Borealisuchus, and Brachychampsa, which is an interesting sort of crocodile, but I'll get to that later. Okay, so my main question was how did these three crocodilian species manage to coexist within the same area? Because of all of the sample sites, they're mainly found like all together. So how is this possible? Why didn't they outcompete each other? So firstly, I started off by measuring these 96 samples. So, and by specimens, I mean single teeth. So firstly, you do the height, so up and down, labial lingual, so labial cheek, lingual tongue, that way, and proximal distal, proximal front, distal back. And I wanted to have a quick look at how the curvature affected, or whether the curvature was related to the species. So for that, it was really simple compared to some of these other techniques, but you take a picture, get the line tool, just draw the lines and measure the angles. From this, I managed to find that there was no link between curvature and species, unfortunately, because as you can see, they all plot rather in the middle. But after doing some research into the proportions of the teeth, we found clusters, which is rather interesting for the Brachychampsa and Borealisuchus, because it will also be useful in identifying some of the inidentifiable teeth that we had. So moving on to niche partitioning. So we had the teeth, but teeth don't tell us everything. So just for the ones that do, the Brachychampsa, as you can see, they're very robust teeth. They're very short, flat, stumpy, good for crushing things, good for crushing shells, which is very unlike the other teeth that we saw on one of the first slides. Now these belong to these ones. So this is Thoracosaurus and this is Borealisuchus here. So as you can see, Thoracosaurus has a very long, very thin snout, whereas Borealisuchus is a lot more robust. Now this could be related to prey type, because as you can see with the Thoracosaurus, as it's thin, perhaps less water like resistance for when it's opening and closing underwater. So you could suggest perhaps that this animal was piscivorous. So it could swim under the water, open and close its mouth, catching the fish. Bob's your uncle, you've got your dinner. Whereas for the Borealisuchus, it's much more suited to grabbing hold of larger prey. So it could grab onto like a stray whatever was hanging around on the banks and pull it under and have that. So this one was more of a carnivorous animal. So if we go across, we've got fish eaters, meat eaters, and then shell crushers. So just to wrap that up, we know it wasn't spatial niche partitioning. That's not how these animals lived together, because they did live together. It's probably not temporal. So we can conclude that it was dietary niche partitioning that enabled all of these creatures to live together. So thank you very much for listening. I'd just like to say another thank you to my supervisor, Dr. Victoria Edgerton at Manchester, for being fabulous. And if anybody has any questions, then feel free.